And that means, Hans, are we the baddies? Hi, my name is Mike. Welcome to my vlog about football in general and Burnley FC in particular. A vlog that this week discovered a really fantastic new Korean place in Burnley Market called Kebab. Had a chicken katsu curry with rice, thoroughly recommended, and because we had a 5-0 win, means I'm going to have to do that next time. Oh well. So, as I mentioned, Clarets start their home season at the Turf with a 5-0 win against Cardiff City, following a 4-1 win away at Luton. 9 goals in 2 games, an amazing start for Scott Parker and the team. A start that we didn't really expect to happen, or weren't expecting to go anywhere near what was going to happen. We kind of hoped that we'd have 2 from 2. But the manner of the 2 victories is really, really encouraging for the season ahead. Before Saturday's game, there was some news about players leaving. We have such a huge squad. I think it's 37 or was 37, sort of what you would call first team squad players. We are obviously going to have to get rid of a fair few before the transfer window slams shut at the end of the month. And Wilson Odobert on Friday, he went to Spurs. Now, obviously disappointment in losing Odobert, but if you look at it in the cold light of day in business terms, it was an irresistible deal. We got a 19-year-old player who's full of potential and is beginning to realise the reality, but is still more potential than reality. We got 12 months out of him. He made 35 appearances. He scored, I think, 4 goals. And we have made around about £20 million profit on that. You will take that deal any day of the week and twice on Sunday. I hope he is a success at Spurs. I hope we see him again at the Turf and we can give him a round of applause that he richly deserves. I think he will do well at Spurs if he can get a start. You know, obviously the problem with moving to a big club like that is that you're amongst a lot of other players, and you can easily be replaced. So hopefully he manages to get a run out and impress. I can see why Spurs bought him. I can see that he has bags of potential in that kind of side with that kind of manager, and I wish him all the best. Another one to go was Scott Twine off to Bristol City. Scott Twine possibly emblematic of kind of the way that transfers worked out under Vincent Kompany, in that we bought him with, I think he was actually the first signing under Kompany that was ever announced, I think. Again, a lot of potential, a lot of promise, but never really got a chance. I think he was injured early on in the Championship season, and then was kind of brought back and never really kind of burst back into the side, because the side was, just playing so well. It was very, very difficult. But he does leave with that incredible free kick against West Brom as a memory. Incredible moment in sort of a football career, and as a fan, the kind of moments that you remember a player for. He didn't have much chance to do much else. Fantastic, moment that I will remember for a long, long time. Again, all the best to him at Bristol City. I hope he finds regular football. I hope he does well there. And for God's sake, I hope it is pinned up when he comes to the Turf. It is pinned up on the board for the players. Do not give a free kick away in that kind of position, because he will put it in the back of the net. So good luck to Scott Twine. Won't be they're the first 2, won't be the last. We will see how it goes. Not going to throw names out there, although missing on Saturday, and to a great deal of sort of cynicism, was James Trafford. Now, that cynicism was apparently misplaced. Apparently he's not starting due to illness. Okay, fair enough. We believe you. Up until the point that he's announced as another player, a player for another team. But yeah, we expect other players to go. But if they don't, then fantastic. The squad that we put out, the squad that we have, and I'm going to that's kind of the theme of today's vlog. The squad that we have is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for the Championship. When the bench was announced for the Luton game, I just took one look at it and gone to myself, I went, if we do not get out of this division at the end of the season, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Because that bench featured Van Weghorst, Manuel Benson, Zaruri, Jay Rodriguez, players who have been at the Euros, players who ripped this division apart 2 years ago. Old heads in Rodriguez. And we also, on Saturday, had players like Amdouni. We had Goodmanson. We have Sander Berg still to come back. That is just the bench. That isn't even the starting 11. And that kind of strength in depth, I don't think any other club in the Championship can actually manage it. I don't think we need any players in. I'm trying to think, who do we need for cover? Maybe left back. Do we need someone at left back for cover more than anything else should anything happen to Lucas Perez? A player who's come in and made an excellent start. He also looks to be a bit of a nutter in a good way. He looks to be a bit sort of on a tightrope emotionally. So he's going to be entertaining. But hopefully we have cover. I think we have cover. On the bench, we have people like Ekdal not even getting on the match day squad. I love Ekdal. Why is it, I'd love to see him in the squad, but there's nothing wrong with Esteve and Dara O'Shea, so fair enough. So the sun was shining. Clarets, basically win 5-0, but to me that wasn't the story of the game, and there was something that was nagging me watching the game. And it took me until midway through the second half to kind of understand what it was. Midway through that second half, the Clarets were one touch passing the ball around the pitch to, the crowd giving it the olays. And they were being chased down by a Cardiff side that was game, that was trying but was getting increasingly tired and just being passed around. And it occurred to me that not only that passage of play, but the what had happened during the match was horribly familiar. And it was a really nagging sense of deja vu that I'd had kind of, since about midway through the first half. And it only disappeared when I realised what I was watching. And what I was watching was something I had seen repeatedly last season. And you're going, Mike, what on earth are you on about? Okay, bear with me. But follow me on this. One team made a bright start on Saturday. It was played particularly well. It was controlling the football. And then it got undone early doors by conceding an absolutely calamitous goal. And then, after conceding that goal, it picked itself up off the floor, fought its way back into it, was causing problems for the opposition, and really should have been level, if not for some poor finishing. And, even having an offside goal chalked out, it was offside, but they had the offside goal chalked out when they thought they were level. And then having done that, and they were fighting their way back into it, they conceded a dumb second goal, thanks to being outsmarted by a more experienced player who managed to get free down the right-hand side, run completely unmolested down the right-hand side, and while the defence was completely scrambling all over the place, the ball came across and got finished into the back of the net. And they come out, that side comes out after half-time, and they're playing well, they're looking bright. And then, first available opportunity, they're playing too high a line, and their opposition basically go through for a one-on-one that kills the game off 3-0. We saw that. We saw that last year. We saw that with Burnley, doing that over and over and over last year. And the difference is, this time, it was Burnley that was taking the advantage and not being taken advantage of. But who can honestly say that at 3-0, the scoreline reflected the game? Because Cardiff, I thought, were a decent side. They were causing problems, especially up front. They had the two big guys, Mieta and Wanga, who were a proper handful, a proper skillful handful physically. And the home side was looking a little bit disjointed. The midfield wasn't quite working. Certainly up front it wasn't really working. Rodriguez replaced Odobert, which is, a contrast in players to say the least. And it wasn't kind of working, but the problem was that one team had just too much talent, too much skill to be properly punished by its opposition. And I will happily argue that on paper this is at least a stronger side than that finished 18 months ago with 101 points in this division. And of course, one of the things that was so depressing last year was when we'd already lost the game and would be 2 or 3-0 down, the game is already decided. The opposition would then bring on hugely expensive international players to give them a few minutes. And those international players, those will be, incredibly talented, and they're looking to make a case for a starting place. So basically, we'd have a player coming on, say, like a Kevin De Bruyne or whatever, that we could not hope to match, coming on just to get a run out, who inevitably would score some kind of match of the day highlight. Zeki Amdouni, 25-yard top corner. And then Wout Weghorst gets brought on as a substitute. He's working hard. And, just as last year, we would see it. Game ticks over into injury time at the end of the second half, and they would score a goal that basically they wouldn't even try if they weren't 4-0 up. And in the injury time in the second half, Johan Berg Gudmundsson from the edge of the area. Having had a year seeing the chasm between clubs being played out on a regular basis, I can't help but shake the feeling that this year we might be seeing it again. Except we've got it in reverse. We have this Mirrorball, where we're the ones whose squad resources and financial resources so dwarf that of most of the opposition that it makes the games less of a challenge, because we have such an advantage to start, just as before the opening whistle is even blown. And that means, Hans, are we the baddies? If you look at it, last week, them down the road had to sell probably their star player. They had to sell him. And they had to sell him because they have to balance the books for their finances. And they sold him for £9 million. We sold a player the same time, or indeed the same day, that we didn't really need to sell, but our squad is not necessarily weakened too much by selling him. And we sold that player for somewhere between 25 and 30 million. And that's the difference. We're shopping in a different market to the clubs below us, in the same way that we are shopping in a different market to the clubs above us in the Premier League. And that imbalance in the Premier League that we are on the wrong side of, we are now on the right side of when it comes to the Championship. And while it's fun to sort of say, we are likely to be winning more games than we lose, and we are likely to be right at the top, when it comes to the season, there are some other clubs around us that have similar means. But Sheffield United are still a bit of a financial basket case. Leeds, they've got a lot of money in, but they're selling players because they've already been in the Championship for a season. Luton, they didn't really have, they don't have the money. They've got them investing the money in the club, whereas similar to kind of we were in 2014. So we are, rightly or wrongly, probably the sort of Man City or Arsenal of the Championship right now. And I'm not sure that's... Okay, it's a great position to be in as a Burnley fan. Yeah, that's great. But from a competition point of view, it would be hugely hypocritical of me to ignore the things that I was complaining about in vlogs last year, and even last week, with the accounts one, and then just ignoring it for this season. Now, I hope it doesn't take the edge off the season. I hope that the games are more competitive. I hope, obviously, that we win and we're successful and all that. Obviously, I'm going to be a hypocrite that way. But what I don't want is for us as fans and us as a club, to forget how it feels. To forget what it feels like to be on the other end. It's kind of funny. You look at them down the road and how they are complaining about us being in the situation that they were in 20 years ago. But it's, we must remember we were in the situation they were in 20 years ago. It's, football is cyclical. The shoe is on the other foot at the moment. It feels great. But you have to remember that what is sometimes good for your club is not necessarily good for football. And while it might be great fun this season, we're flipped back into it next season. And that's not something to really look forward to, I don't think. Yeah, that's something that doesn't quite feel right. I hate people who are born with inherent advantages, who then think that they got where they were through their own hard work. People who are politicians, let's let's name some names. Jacob Rees-Mogg, Jacob Rees-Mogg inherited £100 million the day that his father died. And he tells you that you have to work hard to be successful. Boris Johnson and David Cameron, they have rich parents who went to Eton. They were given jobs where they didn't have to work, straight into politics, and the way was smooth through to being successful. You can look at, even the guy behind EasyJet, who's a nice guy. There's nothing, actually, I don't have a problem with the guy behind EasyJet. But, you don't buy jets with the money that you earn on a paper round on a council estate in the Northwest. You have advantages. The guy behind Amazon worked in Wall Street and, started Amazon with $100,000. Elon Musk, his parents owned a gem mine in South Africa. But they will tell you that they got where they did through hard work and, their own sheer talent and whatever. It's like, no, you had advantages. You had advantages that got you where you are. We are in the position where we are taking our advantages and we are making the most of our advantages, or at least we hope we do, because we don't want to waste those advantages. We have a squad that should be hugely successful. But I couldn't help but consider it as a possibility on Saturday, which is a bit of a weird thing to say on the first game of the season. You just won 5-0. But it was such an odd feeling to see a mirror image played out of what we had to suffer last year. And I think that as long as we have that kind of perspective for this year, then it will be an enjoyable year. I hope it will be an enjoyable year. But I hope we have that kind of perspective, especially when dealing with fans of other sides, because it wasn't much fun for us last year to be on the receiving end, and to be on the receiving end of very smug fans. So, be nice to people on the way up, because you're going to have to pass them on the way down. Anyway, that's it for this week. It's probably not the vlog you were expecting. It wasn't the vlog I was expecting, at the start of Saturday's game, but that's the way it goes. There might be one next week. I've been watching Mission to Burnley 2, and for some reason, not quite as pushed by the club as the last one. But I think it's probably a more interesting one. I'll probably do something on that next week. Weirdly enough, I will not be at the Derby game. This will be the third one in a row I've missed through circumstances outside my control. And it's beginning to get a little bit annoying. The simple reason is that it's my wife's birthday the weekend of the game. We always go away for her birthday weekend. We always go away for my birthday weekend. That's just arranged. That's the way it is. That's fantastic. I love doing that with her, spending time with her. Do you know how many times Burnley have played that lot in August in the league in 140 years? 0. This is the first time we've done it. First time it's happened, and it happens to fall on a weekend that I'm away. In the same way that the last game fell on a weekend where I had a prior commitment, and then the game before that fell on a weekend when I was actually on the other side of the world. But on the plus side, we won those games each time. And I've never seen, in my 30-odd years of seeing the Clarets, I've never seen us beat them down the road in person. I've only ever been there for draws and losses. But if the price for winning the games is that I don't get to be there in person, then I am happy to pay that price. I don't enjoy them much anyway, but the whole thing around it. But I'd rather do what I can to help win, and that's a superstition. Then I will gladly stay away in order to hopefully help the lads win. Whatever happens, I will be doing a vlog afterwards to, on the result of the game and how the game goes. And in the meantime, hope the Clarets.